208.
This is Radio Luxembourg, the world's biggest independent commercial radio station.
We now have a full report from the Daily Mirror news desk. Elvis Presley, the legendary king of rock and roll, died suddenly in hospital at Memphis, Tennessee tonight. He was 42. Elvis was rushed to the emergency room at the Baptist Hospital from his mansion nearby. I've been to that mansion, and so have many, many fans from Britain and all over the world. Now the mansion holds nothing but trophies. The cause of Elvis Presley's death was said to be respiratory failure. Presley had been ill for months, as we all knew. Legends grew about him when he hit the top. He had his own private food taster, as well as bodyguards. And his generosity was such that he used to give Cadillacs away as presents to his friends and aides. Although the Beatles went ahead of him in popularity in the 60s, Presley still stayed at the top of the pop business. He had more than 30 gold records, million sellers. He also appeared in about 25 films. The Elvis Presley National Fan Club once boasted 400,000 members all over the world. Radio Luxembourg was the first radio station in Europe to ever feature Elvis Presley. We were the first radio station in the world ever to go out and get to grips with the impossible, interviewing Elvis and bringing him to you with the words that, yes, thank them for their loyalty in Great Britain and Europe, and tell them we got to get over there. I promise, one day we'll visit them. That promise has not been able to have been fulfilled, but that was probably no fault of Elvis. And maybe now on reflection, when we say, why won't Elvis come and visit us here, and why hasn't Elvis come, and all the rumors have gone, maybe we can look at his health and say, well, maybe that was the real reason. It really doesn't matter in retrospect, because Elvis was Elvis, as many people remember him, prior to the Beatles, when he brought music into the life of the common people and made a common denominator of music, something that we could all associate with. He was then what punk rock is now. He was in 1956 what the Beatles were in 1963. Elvis Presley was the first, and probably the foremost in popular music. But tonight on Radio Luxembourg, we have to inform the world that he no longer exists on our planet. We have only his recordings. Tonight on Luxembourg, we feature nothing but Elvis till close down at 3:45, including in which we'll feature his latest recordings, his brand new album. But for the main, Elvis as we remember him. Elvis is the king of rock and roll. And can I, Tony Prince, say, on behalf of a radio station who has lived on him as much as he has lived on us, say, God bless Elvis Presley. Ladies and gentlemen, we are lonesome tonight. Whether you were a staunch Elvis Presley fan or not, maybe you will appreciate what it means. It's a little bit previous for the man to die. We thought he'd live till about 60, 70, 80, 90, or maybe 3,000. But nobody expected him to die today. Elvis Presley is dead. The following statement has just been issued by Memphis Baptist Hospital concerning Presley's death, and it comes direct from the Radio Luxembourg news desk, where our London editor tonight is Charlie Brooks, on this historic occasion in music. Elvis Presley was found unconscious at his home by his road manager, Joe Esposito. Mr. Esposito indicated that he could not find that Mr. Presley was breathing, nor could he detect a heartbeat. He began emergency resuscitation efforts and called the fire department ambulance. The Memphis Fire Department ambulance continued cardiopulmonary resuscitation on the way to the hospital. The hospital emergency resuscitation team began working with Mr. Presley and continued their effort until Mr. Presley's personal physician, Dr. George C. Nikopoulos, discontinued efforts. Dr. Nikopoulos indicated that a heart attack was a possible cause of death, but this could not be known for sure until a post-mortem examination is completed. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Presley died at 2:30 today. Radio Luxembourg only just heard the news prior to my show. I'm continuing with music of Elvis till 3:45 this morning. Elvis Presley is dead. There is nothing surer. Within a half an hour from now, I'll be opening up the telephone lines for any Elvis Presley fans who want to make comment, put their condolences through our radio station. But you remember when President Kennedy died, years later people said, do you remember where you were when you first heard the news that Kennedy was dead? And of course, we all did. Remember where you are now. Because if you're feeling like me in a deep state of shock, then in a few years from now, you will remember that you were listening to the first radio station in Europe to ever play Radio Luxembourg's #1 star, Elvis Presley. You were listening to The Tony Prince Show. Tonight, I have received permission from our sales department to cancel all commercials on this station as a sign of tribute and respect for Elvis Presley. And calculating what we had in store for you in the way of commercials, we have just given up £10,000 as a sign of respect for Elvis Presley. Elvis is dead. His music will live on forever. And get his immediate reactions at the news that Elvis Presley is dead. If you've just tuned in, I'm very much afraid it's true. But this is going out for the many fans of the fan club members who went out to Las Vegas with me for 2 years, and then Todd took them a 3rd year. And let's think about those who've already booked their trip for next year, who probably won't now be going. We sat in the audience. The curtains parted and there was a dim suggestion of an orchestra. And this is the music they played. And you can imagine if you were an Elvis Presley fan sitting in that audience and having spent your lifelong earnings, your savings, on going to America simply not to see America, but to see Elvis Presley. It's exactly midnight on Radio Luxembourg, August the 16th, 1977. The day and the year of Elvis Presley's death. Elvis Presley died today in hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, only a few miles away from his beautiful mansion. This is the news, and the only news worth talking about on Luxembourg tonight. My very, very dear friend, coming in on the line, Mr. Todd Slaughter. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning, Tony. Well, we got the news, I guess, at the same time that everybody else did over here on ITN.
Yeah.
It was the very last item that they put out, and as soon as they put it out, they denied it. But then I think it was one of the news agencies rang me and confirmed it, and it's been quite hectic ever since.
So every newspaper in the country's been looking to you for quotes, and now Radio Luxembourg, your old mates out here, are looking for quotes, Todd. How did you take the news when you really knew from that agency on the phone that Elvis was dead?
Well, I suppose I felt very, very numb, really. My main concern, my main thought ever since hearing that news is really for the fans that have given so much devotion. How are they feeling tonight? I'm sure they're so distressed. And they will be for many years to come. But they've got a lot to remember. They've got a lot to thank Elvis for, because he's brought a lot of life into their own life, which could have been very, very quiet.
That's very true. I agree entirely, Todd. Can we just talk about the future for the Elvis Presley fan club? What does it mean in those terms? And what about conventions and things like that for the future, Todd? And more important, I'd like you to cover, this is awful asking you on this evening, and I do apologize, Todd, but there's a lot of fans listening, and that's why I'm doing it. Your plans were to every year take a bunch of fans to see the man live in concert in America. At this moment, have you even thought about that? Will you continue to do, let's say, nostalgia trips to America, see his home in Tupelo, and things like that? And the fan club, would you just tell us what your future feelings are at the moment?
I think we will have a demand from our members to retrace Elvis's roots in a way that we've never even thought of doing before. So if the fans want to do that, then obviously we can do it. We can offer that sort of service. We have, in actual fact, we have planned our 21st annual convention this coming Saturday in Nottingham. And for the life of me, I don't know what we're going to do about it. I don't know whether we're going to do it or whether we're going to cancel it as a sign of respect. I really don't know. I have to talk to everyone concerned and see what their feelings are first.
Do you want my opinion?
Yes, what is your opinion?
I would continue. I would go ahead with it. I would go ahead with it because I'll tell you, Todd, that is going to bring people together who are distraught and can associate with each other. And can maybe find some happiness out of this sadness, knowing that, okay, Elvis is dead, but his memory is going to live on through Aldershot at this convention. Maybe it can be that kind of thing. It's not an easy decision for you, I agree. Maybe you can just run films and play records and have the groups just like you always did, Todd.
Yeah.
I'm sure if Elvis Presley could make that decision for you, he'd say, Todd Slaughter and the Elvis Presley fan club secretary, please continue. And I tell you, Todd, if I wasn't working in Germany this Saturday and contracted to do so, I would cancel everything in my life, but unfortunately I'm contracted and I can't get out of it. And that is sad because I would have loved to have been there with the first Elvis Presley fan club convention after his death, because it's the first of many. I think you're going to go from strength to strength. I think people who've just enjoyed Elvis in the past are going to get together with his memory now, because we know he's not going to come over here. There's nothing to yearn for, so let's feed our anxieties through your kind of promotions. But anyway, that's my opinion. What do you think in your heart you're going to do yourself this Saturday?
I don't know. I think you have a point. I think we're faced with a decision that we know that branch leaders have organised coaches and so forth, and if we do cancel, then we're going to put them to an awful amount of expense. And like most people that run fan clubs, they do it as a hobby anyway. So they're going to be in a very strange situation. I think you have a point. I think we probably have to do it.
Well, you're only 2 full days away, Todd, from that actual convention. So if we can be of any help on Radio Luxembourg, I'll be talking to some of the fans between now. It's 1:30 exactly. I'll be talking to the fans for another 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'll ask each of them what they would do if they were you. Would they continue with the fan club? And maybe from that you can get a consensus of opinion.
Okay, fine. I'd appreciate that.
Because it's going to be very difficult for you to get that opinion within 2 days. But I wouldn't mind betting that all those fans who are weeping tonight and heartbroken will say, please, Todd, let us all meet together and share in this really, really sad occasion to make it a joyous event that Elvis is gone, but he's going to live on, baby.
Yeah.
Todd Slaughter, on behalf of Elvis and all his fans, our love and thanks and sympathies.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you for the program tonight. It really is appreciated.
It's our displeasure. Good night, Todd.
Good night, Tony.